Their Iowa Corn Indy 250 green flags, all about green out here. Corn ethanol powering these cars here tonight at Iowa Speedway. Danica Patrick on the outside of the front row. Takuma Sato will lead the field to the green flag for the first time. Gets a little bit of a jump off of turn number 4. They're going to let it go. He will be the leader. Takuma Sato, his teammate Tony Kanaan falls into second. They run through turn number 2. Mark James.
Danica Patrick right there. Now into the high side of the number 4 machine of James Hinchcliffe is J.R. Hildebrand. He sees Hinchcliffe go to his high side and grab a spot.
Yep, Dario Franchitti on the move as Dario Franchitti will pull up on Danica Patrick. It's the battle for third place here in turn number 1.
Yeah, correction. Thanks for picking that up, Mike. That is Dario Franchitti who has hit the button. He slides in front of Danica Patrick. He grabs the third spot. Meanwhile, back up front, it is Old KB Racing into turn 4.
A great start here, Davey. Early on, you're watching the battle in the mid-pack.
Yeah, watching Scott Dixon. Remember, our worst qualifying.
23rd.
He is going by guys at will. Now he's right behind Graham Rahal, slicing and dicing underneath Alex Tagliani, but Scott Dixon, he didn't stay long in the back very long.
Well, Mark James, any concerns we had about Takuma Sato in that repaired race car? They went away in a quick hurry as Takuma Sato is bolted out to a nice 8-car length lead.
And out in front is the place to be here. First of all, you avoid all the traffic. You avoid all that dirty air as well. About single file now through the first 15 cars. Now we see James Hinchcliffe making a move. He's dialing up Justin Wilson into turn number 3.
Scott Dixon continues on the move. He gets around Alex Tagliani. It's the battle for 18th place. Keep in mind, Dixon back in territory he's not familiar with, Mark. His worst starting position in 5 years.
Scott Dixon, last time he started this low was 22nd in 2005 at Chicagoland Speedway, trying to make quick work of the rear of this IZOD IndyCar Series field. Next in his crosshairs in turn number 3, the 38 machine of Graham Rahal.
Takuma Sato last time by at 171.101. Jake Query on pit lane.
And Takuma Sato was told by his team at the start of the race, warm up those tires. Now what they're telling him, go ahead and preserve your tires. Make sure you don't wear them out. Mike?
Battle for the lead at the line. Mark James, the 5 car in the 82. Now they're 3 wide and 1.
Dario Franchitti wants the bottom of the racetrack, and he'll grab it. Takuma Sato to the high side. DK falls back to third. Now Sato battles Franchitti in turn 3.
Holy cow, what a battle there as they went 3 wide legitimately through turn number 1. And Davey, Takuma Sato holds on. He is side by side with Dario Franchitti across the line.
Dario,
man,
unbelievable how he went underneath both those guys and made that car stick on the bottom.
A great start to the Iowa Corn Indy 250. Mike Team, Davey Hamilton, the entire IMS Radio Network crew. And Davey, Takuma Sato did a great job bringing the field to the green flag. Then we saw Tony Kanaan, and Dario Franchitti go 3 wide on lap number 5. How they made it through, I'm not exactly sure, but Dario winds up 2 laps later with the lead.
Well, a couple of questions right off. Is Sato's car going to be good? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Still running second. Is Danica Patrick's car good? Absolutely. She's running a strong 4th. Tony Kanaan's almost fell back a little bit in that 3rd spot. He could be just taking it easy, but, man, what a great start. We knew Dario, he was going to try to challenge for the front. We thought Will Power would as well, but he's kind of falling back, just kind of hanging on back there in 7th, I think it is.
Yeah, Mark James, of the 5 starts that we have seen here in IZOD IndyCar Series competition, this is easily the best.
Yeah, no question. Watching a pretty nice battle between the 06 and the 6th machine. That's Ryan Briscoe and James Hinchcliffe. Briscoe appears to be hooked up early on as he starts to draw a bead now on one of his Penske teammates running in front of him. That is the number 12 machine of Will Power. Power about 6 car lengths behind J.R. Hildebrand.
Early movers here. Dario Franchitti started 6th. He is already out in front. He is the leader. Remember, he has won here twice. Probably would have won here last year had it not been for a failed gearbox. Marco Andretti +4. Scott Dixon +4. Graham Rahal +3. And Ryan Briscoe +3. Your top 10, it's Dario Franchitti, Takuma Sato, Tony Kanaan, Danica Patrick, and J.R. Hildebrand. Will Power is 6th. Ryan Briscoe is 7th. James Hinchcliffe is 8th. Ryan Hunter-Ray is 9th. And Justin Wilson runs 10th. We have 14 of 250 laps complete at the Iowa Corn Indy 250.
At the racetrack, hearing every word is critical.
Shot spin, Marco Andretti down and away. Michael Young, Thomas Schechter coming in for 14. He gets up.
If you want to hear what the pros hear, use what the pros use. The IMS Radio Network depends on racing electronics.
Here comes James Weldon. He'll be coming in just a moment, too.
For handheld scanners, headsets, and more, visit a Racing Electronics trailer in the trackside souvenir area. Or shop online at racingelectronics.com. Racing Electronics, an official partner of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
I'm Takuma Sato from Iowa Speedway. This is IZOD IndyCar Series.
Do you take Viagra? What if we could promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? Look, at $18 a pill, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pill delivers the exact same results for just $3, and it comes with a no questions asked, money-back guarantee. We'll do the math for you. You save more than $15 per pill for the same results. Want more? We'll give you 40 blue pills for $99 and add 4 more pills free. You save more than $500. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what to do next. You need to call 877-242-6911 and get your 44 pills for just $99. Stop overpaying for Viagra. Call us and start saving a ton of money for the exact same results. Order is fast and easy, with your pills delivered to your door in an unmarked package. Call us right now at 1-877-242-6911. That's 1-877-242-6911.
You're listening to the Iowa Corn Indy 250 on great radio stations like KWQW-FM in Des Moines, Iowa, WHAS-AM in Louisville, Kentucky, WHOO-AM in Orlando, Florida, WCOE-FM in LaPorte, Indiana, and KFJB-AM in Marshalltown, Iowa. I want to say hello to all of you listening to us on XM94, on Sirius 212, and on IndyCar.com. Mike King, Davey Hamilton, the entire IMS Radio Network crew with you. First 7 laps were led by Takuma Sato, starting on pole for the first time in his IZOD IndyCar Series career. Dario Franchitti took over the lead on lap number 8, and Davey, he has led the last 15 laps, and Dario Franchitti right now working on a margin of about 7/10 of a second, about 15 car lengths.
Yeah, he is, Mike. And one of the wall.
We got a problem. Mark James in turn number 2.
James Jakes in the number 18 machine lost it at the apex at turn number 2, spun it around and backed it into the wall. He's now at the exit at turn number 2, slowing to a crawl.
James Jakes was running 25th and was in danger of going a lap down. So James Jakes, the rookie from Leeds, England, was running at the back of the pack, lost it in turn number 2, and he bangs the safer barrier hard on the outside. And Davey, this certainly, every point counts now. Even though we still have a lot of racing to go before we get to Las Vegas and the championship race, Will Power's got to be thinking about, boy, those points are just draining away. Get me out, and they make the mistake, unfortunately.
And here's what happens, Mike. I mean, we watched the replay right now. You have to know your surroundings. You got Will running up front. He's pitted in the back. They picked pit spots from where he qualified at the last event. He had a pit spot. He found an open. He took it. Obviously, Kimball was in front of him, and you need those crew chiefs. It's not Will Power's fault. Right. It's the crew chief. The guy's sending him out.
Here, once again, out in front, Dario Franchitti. He's on the low side. Tony Kanaan on the outside. Here we go. To the line. Green flag waves. Dario's out in front. Here comes Tony Kanaan. He'll look to the high side, Mark James, but falls in behind Franchitti.
Takuma Sato lost a little bit on the restart. Then it looked like he was shot out of a gun through 1 and 2. He slid right by Briscoe. A couple of cars behind him. Marco Andretti makes a nice run on Oriol Serbia. Danica Patrick stuck to the bottom of the racetrack as a couple of cars wore by. Yep. The leader's setting up for turn 1.
Yeah, Danica Patrick losing ground. Oriol Serbia, Davey, to the high side. Looks like he's going to get past her using that middle groove.
Yeah, you can see that Danica just didn't feel confident being on the bottom of the car on the outside of her. She probably lifted that little bit.
Look at Serbia,
what a difference.
Man, he is flying.
He's a
as Mark James,
right
he
there.
blows past Danica Patrick, and he's going to do the same to Ryan Briscoe on the high side.
Makes quick work of Briscoe at the start-finish line, and he'll stay into the throttle now and try to get Elio Castro-Neves in the crosshairs. Meanwhile, look at the blue and white machine of Dario Franchitti, about an 8-car length advantage to the exit of 4.
Yeah, we're also keeping our eye on Scott Dixon. Started 23rd as they cross the line. He is shown in 12th place, so Scott Dixon, David, did they make the necessary adjustments to that car to make him good in traffic?
Well, we'll find out. He did get by Anna Beatrice, and he's behind Justin Wilson, not gaining a lot. I mean, he's not making big chunks, but you know what? Scott's an experienced driver. He does not need to make big chunks. He just needs to make little steps throughout this race, and every stop get it good for the end. But observing Will Power, he came back out last. He's running last right now behind Visa.
Well, Marco Andretti, Mark James has just put Danica Patrick positioned down as Danica will fall from 7th to 8th.
Marco Andretti comes off of turn number 4. He'll set up now, or set sail, we should say, for number 6 machine of Ryan Briscoe. Now the battle for third heats up a little bit. It's Elio Castro-Neves and Takuma Sato in turn 3.
Dario Franchitti, Davey, is so good at this racetrack, has led so many laps, has already won here twice, and right now he's got the field in his rearview mirror.
Man, he does. and not only does he's dominating this race at this point. I mean, that's a big lead. You look at it from second back, and they're nose to tail, Mike, and he's able just to stretch that thing right out. So he has a good car.
We will complete 40 laps this time by Dario Franchitti. Last time by at 176.551. This time 176.228. Nick Yeoman, you've caught up with James Jakes.
Yeah, first caution of the day was brought out by James Jakes. James, walk us through your accident.
It's tricky out there. The air temperature and the track temperature is really low for what we've been doing, and it's tough with the slow parade laps in the beginning. It's so difficult to get heat in the tires, and we were pushing. We tried to gain some positions, and it's so difficult to pass. Everybody's on the bottom trying to find that seems to be where the grip is, and you've got to go in high and then cut down trying to get them on the inside for the exit. It's just tough. It's difficult to pass out there right now.
We'll see you in a couple weeks in Toronto. Thank you. That's James Jakes, the first car out of the race, guys.
Elio Castroneves, Mark Janes in a spirited battle with Takuma Sato for third place in 3.
Yeah, he's been looking for some room to get around him for the last couple of laps. 2 laps ago, he finally found it. They're running side by side now for their second consecutive lap. Elio finally slides up in front of him and takes the position. Now, in front of him, the 82 machine of Tony Kanaan.
Danica Patrick going to lose another position. This time it's J.R. Hildebrand getting around the GoDaddy car.
And Oriol Servia looks poised to take Takuma Sato's spot. They'll battle off of turn number 4. Servia works his way to the bottom, slides that blue machine underneath the yellow and green machine of Takuma Sato. Sato gives him room to the high side. Got pitched off a little bit to Servia. He had to lift and that gave the spot back to Sato.
Oriol Servia, Davies, got himself a good race car, and we've got a problem in turn number 2. And that is Anna Beatriz.
Conway, I think.
So Anna Beatriz and Mike Conway bring out our second caution as they get together in turn number 2 on lap 45. So our second caution flag comes out as Mike Conway and Anna Beatriz get together in turn number 2. Homatro safety crew already talking to Mike Conway. Dario Franchitti is our race leader. Tony Kanaan is second across the line. Dario is out in front, 3 wide behind the leaders. Mark James there in turn number 2.
Looking back into the pack, the number 19 machine of Alex Lloyd passed about 3 cars before they cleared turn number 4. It's going to be interesting to see if he's able to hold his spot or not. Meanwhile, Dario Franchitti, master of the restarts tonight. He set sail down the main straightaway, has about a 5-car length advantage. Elio peeks to the inside and Tony Kanaan.
Alex Lloyd, he made his way past Danica Patrick and a couple of other cars. Danica Patrick now looking inside of her. Sebastian Saavedra. Danica having her woes out there right now, Davey.
She sure is, man. She's falling back. Hopefully she'll get that car balanced out. She's not comfortable right now. How about Elio Castroneves passing Tony Kanaan? Looking strong. We'll see if he has anything for Dario, but if you notice, Mike.
Look at Marco Andretti. He's going to move to the low side and make the pass. And as he gets past Tony Kanaan, Mark James, a very impressive move by Marco Andretti there in turn 1.
And he looks as though he's trying to reel in the number 3 machine of Elio Castroneves, although that 82 machine not going away quietly. He does have his teammate behind him in Takuma Sato. While all this slicing and dicing is going on for these positions, 2 through about 7, Dario Franchitti starting to pull away into turn 4.
Yeah, Franchitti out in front by 7/10 of a second. Elio Castroneves runs second, third to Marco Andretti, fourth to Tony Kanaan, fifth to Takuma Sato. J.R. Hildebrand is up to 6. Ryan Briscoe is 7th. Scott Dixon is 8th. Graham Rahal is 9th, and Oriol Servia is 10th. And right now, Oriol Servia trying to hold off Graham Rahal, Davey, as they head to 3.
Yeah, he's trying. I mean, Graham's running strong. He feels confident in this race, in this car. And he's been doing good. He got a podium finish at Milwaukee. He's ready to win a race. I don't think it's going to be today, but he does have a strong car. Right behind him is Danica Patrick. Seems like she got up to pace. I think the restart just caught her off guard. And she was in the middle of a 3-wide run down the front straightaway, so she backed out.
Mark James, where we are right now, a little bit reminiscent of what we saw last week at Milwaukee as Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, and Elio Castroneves were all strong at that racetrack.
Yeah, they slugged it out to the very end, and issues not necessarily, although TK did take credit for his spin and contact in turn number 4. Said he was pushing too hard, but no mistake about it. A cut tire is what took Elio Castroneves out of contention. And, you know, Mike, for Dario to be in the position that he was in and to win that race through attrition, that's the kind of season a guy usually has when he wins a championship. He has that kind of luck.
Will Power.
Problem.
Will just hit the wall.
Will Power has just crashed out in turn number 2. Mark James, a big lick for the man who came in tied with Dario Franchitti for the championship lead. Will Power has crashed Mark in turn number 2. A hard hit, almost exactly the same spot that we saw Anna Beatriz and Mike Conway hit.
At the apex of turn number 2 is where the incident happened with Will Power, and the rear end of the car sustained heavy damage as Will Power brings out the caution here at Iowa Speedway.
Don't want to jinx him, but it's been a good night for KV Lotus Racing. Tony Kanaan to the outside of the leader, Dario Franchitti. Takuma Sato's going to grab third. Marco Andretti will tuck in behind him for the 4th spot in turn 1.
Boy, Dario Franchitti, Davey, has been nailing these restarts tonight.
He sure has. And Kanaan going to try his teammate on the outside. He is beside him, going on the back straightaway. We'll see if he can hang on in turn 3 and 4.
Takuma Sato on the low side. Tony Kanaan is going to give up that position, so Kanaan will go back to third as Takuma Sato. Mark James now moves back to second.
Scott Dixon runs in front of J.R. Hildebrand and also Ryan Briscoe. He has now worked his way all the way up to 5th place. So here comes Scott Dixon, and it won't be long, and it looks like he's going to pull up on the 4th place running 26th machine of Marco Andretti.
Yeah, historically, Mark, Scott has always been good at this track. You and I were both shocked that he had to start 23rd, his worst qualifying effort in many, many years, but it looks like the team has given him a pretty darn good race car.
No question about that, and they've also done their job on pit road, helping him pick up spots there. J.R. Hildebrand stays in the toe of Scott Dixon as they exit turn number 4. Same old story on the restarts as Dario Franchitti stretching it out to about 4 car lengths. Marco Andretti now starting to work on TK at the midway point of the back straightaway.
I'll tell you a guy, Davey, who is always very good here, and that's Marco Andretti, who was on the podium the first 2 years that the IndyCar Series ran here at Iowa Speedway. And right now, Marco Andretti right on the rear wing of that 82 car of Tony Kanaan.
And what's impressive with that, he gets, when you say right on the rear wing, Mike, you're serious. I mean, he's right there, and he's able to stay there. And man, I think that he has a good car, and it seems like his car was better as the run went. So we'll see.
Yeah, last time by for Marco Andretti, 177.511 miles an hour. As Davey, you're watching an onboard shot of J.R. Hildebrand, and boy, it's amazing how much that steering wheel moves through 1 and 2.
I've been hoping for an onboard shot just to kind of show you guys what it's like down in turns 1 and 2. It literally, your hands are bouncing back and forth 5 or 6 different times. And it's just the bumps are so big down there. It tries to rip the wheels right out of your hand, and that was a good indicator of Hildebrand of what it's like going down through turns 1.
Mark James, before that last caution flew on lap 90 for the Will Power incident, Dario Franchitti had opened up nearly a 1-second lead, but Mark, he's not able to shake Sato, Kanaan, and Andretti this time, and here comes Andretti.
Marco TK goes side by side now. TK to the bottom, the red and black Venom energy machine to the high side. Marco Andretti can't make the pass it. Didn't get a very good run at the end of the turn number 2. And we've got Sebastian Saavedra, the number 34 machine. The end swapped around on him, Mike. We have seen it all night long. It's just the story's the same. It's just the names that have changed. Laid back a little bit. Now he finally pulls alongside TK. Sato trying to hit the button to keep pace with Dario Franchitti. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it, at least off of turn number 4. Now he's got plenty of company to his bottom side, his teammate Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, Tony Kanaan and Takuma Sato will once again battle for 3rd place. Scott Dixon, and look at J.R. Hildebrand, Mark James. He's going to pick up a position. He'll go to 5th.
Dixon has plenty of company behind him. Briscoe got woed up plenty. Now Alex Tagliani in that 77 Bowers and Wilkins machine comes to the high side of Scott Dixon. Dixon grabs that spot. Marco now tries to pull up on the number 5 machine, or the 82 machine, I should say, of Tony Kanaan. Sato tries to catch up with Scott Dixon in turn 3, or it's Dario Franchitti in turn 4.
Oriol Servia, Danica Patrick, and Ryan Briscoe, Davey, they went 3 wide through 1 that last time by.
Yeah, Briscoe, he was in front of those guys that got checked up just a little bit by Alex Tagliani and Scott Dixon in turn 3. He had to lift, just lost his momentum. Boy, Ed Carpenter way off the pace there, too.
Look at Alex Tagliani, Mark James. Now he's going to go side by side with Dixon. This is the battle for 6th.
Bunny had him 2 laps ago. Looks like he's going to try to get him here, running the high side of the racetrack, trying to make it stick. Oriol Servia right there, too. The 77 machine of Alex Tagliani trying to slide in front of Scott Dixon at the exit of turn 2.
Meantime, Dario Franchitti holding off Takuma Sato by 29 hundredths of a second. 3rd place to Tony Kanaan. Boy, the KV car's been strong tonight, but not nearly as strong as that Suave shampoo machine of Dario Franchitti. Mark, he's off a 2.
Tagliani still has Dixon in his sights. Actually, he's running in front of him, so Dixon with tags in his sights
The number 2 machine of Oriole Servia, the 7 machine of Danica Patrick is right there. That battle is for 7th, 8th, and 9th. That sets up in turn number 1.
Marco Andretti continues to run a strong 4th place. Scott Dixon, Mark James going to look to the low side of Alex Tagliani, but can't get him off a 2.
The car of Tags is much more comfortable to the high side of the racetrack. Dixon lifts a little bit through 3 and 4. He has company now from Oriole Servia. They're awfully tight. Throw out the proverbial blanket over that battle in turn number 2.
Yeah, Davey, every time now we see cars do 1 and 2, I just flinch a little bit.
Yeah, you do, especially when they're running side by side and seeing the cars have to go up high, where the higher you go, the bigger the bumps are, and that's what's creating problems. And you watch guys like Ed Carpenter, man, he's just hanging on down through there. You see him lose a lot of ground.
Tony Kanaan wants to get back in this one, but Mark, he's got J.R. Hildebrand to worry about, less than 2 car lengths behind him off a 2.
J.R. right there, and again, he's distanced himself a bit from the 77 machine of Tagliani. Dixon is losing another spot. Oriole Servia starting to get hooked up. Looks like the handling going away a bit on Scott Dixon, not able to hold the car down at the exit of the turns. That means the number 7 GoDaddy machine of Danica Patrick now has her sights set on Scott Dixon.
J.R. Hildebrand and Tony Kanaan, Mark James side by side through 3 and 4.
Hildebrand can't make the car stay to the bottom of the racetrack. It washes up and he has to gather it back in so he doesn't hit that turn 4 wall. He's already done that enough this year. Doesn't want to do it again, that's for sure. Marco Andretti with a strong run down the banking of the exit of turn 2. Gets a good run on Sato in 3.
Mark James, or Davey, I should say, it looks like Marco Andretti can run low groove, middle groove, and high groove. He's good anywhere, it looks like, with that Venom
He
car.
really does. He's faster than Sato, and he's going to pull up beside him right now.
Here he
coming
comes.
off of turn 2, he's going to pull up beside him, drag race him down the back straightaway. This car works good on the high side. We'll see if he can hold on to Sato and see if he can beat him to the start finish line.
So, Mark, he is one of the few drivers that we have seen make outside passes tonight, and he looks to put Takuma Sato behind him. He just can't pull alongside it, too.
Well, Sato's taking the short way around, no doubt about it, but Marco's car looks awfully good off the turn. He comes off of turn number 2, slides to the bottom. Sato has to lift just a little bit. They almost touch as Marco slides back in front of him. Now does the 26 Venom Energy machine have it up for Dario Franchitti? We'll find out as he's got nothing in front of him but the number 10 machine of Dario.
Davey, that was a sweet little move there. The way he set him up on the outside, then draft him down the back straight, then just swoop right underneath him there in 3 and 4.
Not only is his timing perfect, Mike, that his car works good in dirty air. He can get right on somebody's rear end, and the car seems to stay balanced. He can stay on the throttle, and that's what gets your momentum up. We'll see if he can do the same thing with Dario Franchitti. Not quite sure it's going to be as easy as he just did with Sato, although it wasn't easy, but he is catching Dario.
Marco Andretti needs a win in the worst kind of way. Davies in his 6th season now in the IndyCar Series, and that win that came during his rookie year at Infineon, that's a long time ago.
Long time ago. I don't know how many race starts he has, but 77 races ago since he's had the victory.
Here he comes, Mark James. He is pulling up on Dario Franchitti, no doubt about it. He wanted to give him a look that time and then backed off just a little bit. They had to one.
As he lifted, Takuma Sato closed in a little bit. Sato has his hands full of his teammate. That is Tony Kanaan off of turn number 2. J.R. Hildebrand not going away quietly. There's TK with a nice run at the exit at 2. Sato gives up the bottom, and they almost touched between 3 and 4. He had to lift a little bit and give up the spot to Tony Kanaan.
Battle for the lead in turn number 1. Marco Andretti will go to the low side of Dario Franchitti, and Marco edge in front just momentarily. A drag race to turn number 3.
Side by side into 3. Marco to the bottom, Dario to the high side. Can Dario make the car stick without having to lift? He stays well off the outside retaining wall. Marco Andretti by a half a car length, or by a nose, we should say, at the exit of 1.
157 laps complete. Davey, it's been a long time since we've seen Marco out in front of a race.
How about that? He passes Dario. Dario's been so tough, and Marco obviously tougher at this point of the race, but that fight between Tony Kanaan and Sato, yes, it was Kanaan that had to lift and let Sato have that 3rd spot back.
So the Venom Energy Drink car has gone to the front on lap 157, 158 laps for complete. Marco Andretti out in front of Dario Franchitti. Takuma Sato runs 3rd. Tony Kanaan is 4th. J.R. Hildebrand is 5th. The rest of your top 10, Oriole Servia, Alex Tagliani, Scott Dixon, Ryan Briscoe, and Danica Patrick. That's the way your top 10 runs at the Iowa Corn Indy 250. Dario Franchitti continues to lead in turn number 2.
Dario Franchitti
Franchitti, Marco Andretti in tow, about 10 car lengths back as they work their way around the slower machine of E.J. Vizo. Now, here come the leaders onto pit road. Dario Franchitti, Marco Andretti nose to tail as they come to pit road.
60 miles an hour as they slow from a race pace of 176 miles an hour where they turned laps last time by. E.J. Vizo will also make that. Tony Kanaan will also. We've got a problem on track.
Sato.
So it's Takuma Sato. Takuma Sato in a replay from last year has made contact on track. So Takuma Sato has come to a stop as we have cars on pit lane. And Jake Query, you've got a couple of them in front of you.
And Dario Franchitti came in. They quickly changed all 4 Firestone Firehawks. Dario Franchitti got away, and he got away just before Marco Andretti, guys.
So he continued.
Might have gotten out ahead of him.
Marco beat him out. I'm pretty sure
So
he did.
Marco Andretti is beating him out.
2x2's been no problem tonight, especially for Dario Franchitti. No problem for Marco Andretti.
Nope.
It looked like maybe either he got a jump or Dario just didn't go with it. But they didn't throw the green flag either way, and they'll back up again.
Yep, Dario, of course, has been so good on restarts tonight. But, Davey, it almost looked like Dario didn't go with him.
Yeah, it did. But Dario, Dario's maybe playing a little bit of a game as well. And Marco, he's anxious. He's excited. He hasn't been in that position for a while. And he wants to make sure he leads Dario into that first quarter. Now, Dario's had pretty good jumps on all the sources as well.
Well, we will come to the line and complete 199 laps. It's Andretti, Franchitti, Kanaan, Briscoe, Hildebrand, your top 5. Green flag will wave. Marco Andretti breaks out in front, and here comes Tony Kanaan. Mark James, he'll pick up second.
TK with a nice jump. For some reason, Dario was slow out of the gate. Oriol Servia went very wide. He lost the spot to the bottom to Ryan Briscoe. TK grabbed second, so Marco with a little bit of a buffer now, but here comes TK with Dario Franchitti in tow at the exit of turn number 4.
So here come your top 3 with Ryan Briscoe trailing them, and Ryan Briscoe, Mark James, it looks like he's got a pretty good car for this final stint, and here comes Scott Dixon on the low side.
Scott Dixon has J.R. Hildebrand in tow. They just worked their way around Danica Patrick. Hildebrand wants to go side by side. Meanwhile, Servia to the bottom of Briscoe as they exit turn 4.
They'll stay side by side. This is the battle for 4th place. Across the line, Oriol Servia. And Oriol Servia right now, Mark, is shown a lap down to these guys. So he's up there racing with the leaders, but he's a lap down.
Hoping to get that lap back just behind him. Scott Dixon trying to tiptoe his way around J.R. Hildebrand. Hildebrand runs to the bottom, and they touched, I think, at the midway point at turn number 4. Hildebrand to the bottom, Dixon to the top. Now Dixon will grab the spot. Meanwhile, Tony Kanaan works his way around Marco Andretti at the exit of turn 2. So we have a new leader, Tony Kanaan.
So on lap 203, Tony Kanaan becomes our 4th leader of the evening. Tony Kanaan, the defending race winner here at Iowa Speedway. It was the last time Markey went to victory lane. He's out in front in 1.
Can he get some luck tonight after losing it with the race well in hand at Milwaukee? Dario Franchitti trying to track down Marco Andretti. TK in that number 82 machine with Geico on the side pod exits turn number 4.
So we watch Tony Kanaan out in front of the Venom Energy car. So you've got the green and yellow KB Lotus car sponsored by Geico. That is Tony Kanaan out in front. He'd love some insurance right now that if he could keep those guys behind him, he's going to win this race. But Marco Andretti, Mark James, he's not going to give up. And now here comes Dario Franchitti. You could throw a blanket over him at the line.
Dario had to swing it a little wide to keep from running over Marco at the apex at turn number 4. Andretti thought about going to the high side at TK through 1 and 2. That didn't work. Now he and Dario, TK, all nose to tail. All formerly with Andretti Green Racing or Andretti Autosport. All 3 flying different colors for different teams, but putting out a great battle here at Iowa Speedway.
Davey Hamilton, we've got 44 laps remaining, and look at Ed Carpenter. He suddenly found himself in the top 10.
He sure has. The car's looking good. He's keeping up with the pace. With that crew's done, he made some good changes for him, and he's hanging right in there. But I'll tell you what, this is a great race for the top 3. I'll tell you that. You can't ask for anything better.
Yep, and here comes Marco Andretti. 207 laps complete. Mark James, he'll go back to the front in 2.
He went to the high side of the exit of 4 and then cut across the rear wing of Tony Kanaan and grabbed the spot. Can he make it stick at the bottom of the racetrack? DK running a little higher, as is Dario Franchitti. A little farther back, we see a battle for 7th shaking up. Look who's back into the top 10. Victim of a cut tire earlier. He's come storming back. The number 3 machine of Elio Castro Neves.
Yep, so right now your top 10, Andretti, Kanaan, Franchitti, Briscoe, Dixon. We've had 3 lead changes in the last 15 laps as Scott Dixon now trying to get underneath Ryan Briscoe. This is the battle for 4th place as Dixon will go to 4th place. He started 23rd here this evening. Mark, they're still side by side.
Dixon hits the button and works his way around Briscoe. Briscoe not going away quietly, though. They work their way towards turn number 3. Now Tony Kanaan to the bottom of Marco Andretti. Dario Franchitti runs the high side. Cutting across the nose, the number 26 machine of Marco Andretti.
Wow.
He gets back to the bottom of the racetrack. PK to the high side. Now the bottom opens up for Dario in 2.
So Dario Franchitti looked to the low side of Tony Kanaan, unable to make that move. Marco Andretti is out in front. Visit ShopHonda.com. Enter for your chance to start an IndyCar race in a 2-seater with an IndyCar champ like Mario Andretti. Official rules at ShopHonda.com. In 8-4-11. No purchase is necessary. Great battle out front. Scott Dixon, Mark James has just passed Dario Franchitti, his teammate, to go to third, and Kanaan is back out in front. Tony Kanaan and Marco Andretti. And Mark, I tell you what, these guys really have an at it, and Scott Dixon, it looks like, going to join the party soon.
Scott Dixon is about 5 car lengths behind him as he exits turn number 2. Scott Dixon has Dario Franchitti, his teammate, behind him. Then it's Ryan Briscoe, then J.R. Hildebrand, then Elio Castroneves, and James Hinchcliffe picks up the 8th spot over Danica Patrick. Danica Patrick has since lost another spot to the 28 machine of Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Marco Andretti will look to the outside of Tony Kanaan off of turn number 2 with 217 laps complete. Scott Dixon runs about 10 car lengths behind the second place car of Andretti. Then you've got Dario Franchitti running 4th. They head to the line. 218 of 250 laps complete. Marco pops back to the outside in 1.
Well, I'll tell you what, you talk about the drivers being dizzy after running 200 laps around here. We're probably going to be a little dizzy ourselves watching them work around here at such a feverish pace. Marco Andretti a half a groove higher between 3 and 4. PK slams the door as they head to the main straightaway.
The top 10 with 219 of 250 shown complete. It's Kanaan out in front by 1/100th of a second. Then Andretti, Dixon, Franchitti, and Briscoe your top 5. Hildebrand, Castroneves, Hinchcliffe, Hunter-Reay, and Danica Patrick. That's your top 10. The race leaders making their way off of turn number 4. 220 laps are complete. The Honda contest started last year with 3 races. The popularity was so great that this year Honda is doubling your chances to win. Official rules at ShopHonda.com. It's 8-4-11. No purchase is necessary. Mark, the battle continues out in front. Less than a car length separating Kanaan and Andretti across the line.
Well, maybe they've decided to get together, hook up, and try to pull away a little bit. Because while that battle's about a half a car length, they've started to distance themselves a bit from Dixon and Franchitti. Unless Dixon, Franchitti, Briscoe and company, and Hildebrand are trying to line up in a 4-car freight train to track those guys down and blow by them. We'll see as they exit turn number 4. TK by a half a car length as they set up for turn 1.
222 laps are complete. 13 cars are on the lead lap. Last time by, Tony Kanaan, the leader, at 176.132 miles an hour. And folks, keep in mind, this is a 7/8 of a mile oval. Kanaan, Andretti, Dixon, Franchitti, Briscoe, Hildebrand, Castroneves, Hinchcliffe, Hunter-Reay, and Patrick, your top 10. Also on the lead lap, Carpenter, who is 11th. Justin Wilson is 12th. Alec Boyd hanging on. He is currently shown in 13th place. Pit Lane and Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, on the closing laps, Mike, just wanted to update you guys. Takuma Sato and Sebastian Saavedra after the hard hits, both checked and released from the infield care center.
Okay, that's good news. And Takuma Sato, a very hard hit. And Sebastian Saavedra, good to hear, because Davey took him a while to get him out of that car.
Took him a while, so that is good news. Marco Andretti, meanwhile, tried going into Tony Kanaan, got the door slammed. He did the same thing that happened to Dario a few laps earlier. Slid up, almost hit the wall coming off of turn 4, lost a lot of ground. Going through lap traffic by Vitor Miro right now. He's slowly catching up. Now it's Kanaan's teammate, Viso, that's getting ready to go another lap down.
Yep, and they head to turn number 3, working lap 226. EJ Viso and Tony Kanaan trying to tiptoe the way, and Mark James, he holds up his teammate, does Viso.
He's not going to be happy. Tony Kanaan, Marco Andretti to the high side, and now Marco's going to get picked off by Viso. Viso trying to get out of the way, but he can't do it. Now he'll bottle up Scott Dixon, Dario Franchitti and company.
We continue to watch. Here comes Marco Andretti. It looks like he's going to try to make the pass to the low side, Mark James, but he and Kanaan still side by side, wheel to wheel, headed to 3.
And 2 and in 4, Marco guns to the high side, gets a nice run at the exit, and then sees the bottom of the racetrack open up, and he's able to get the car down there. That's the 3rd time we've seen him pull off that move now as he tries to shake loose some TK at the exit of turn 2.
41 thousandths of a second is all that separates first and second place. Marco Andretti trying to hold the line. Tony Kanaan going to the low side, trying to make the pass. Mark can't do it in 4.
Scott Dixon, Dario Franchitti running behind them. We talked to Chip Ganassi earlier about not having the car to win, but still racking up points. The crippled race car, Will Power probably already back in the truck. He's going to take a big points hit. Maybe Dario doesn't have the car to win, but he he has a car that can rack up big points tonight in the battle for the points championship.
Nearly 5 full years have passed since Marco Andretti has visited Victory Lane. He is 16 laps away from breaking that spell here tonight. He's out in front by 37 hundredths. Out in front of Tony Kanaan. Scott Dixon is third. Dario Franchitti is fourth. J.R. Hildebrand is fifth. Mark James 235 of 250 complete, 15 to go.
Top four separated by a couple of car lengths. The National Guard machine of J.R. Hildebrand runs in the fifth spot. And we see a side-by-side battle behind him. That's the number 2 machine of Oriol Servi. Again, he's a lap off the pace. And the number 6 machine of Ryan Briscoe trying to clear him. He finally does as they make the hard dive into turn number 3. A check of the leaders of the start-finish line shows Marco by 2 car lengths now as they're already setting up for the back straightaway.
And Mark with now 14 laps remaining. The lap car, it looks like, is that E.J. Vizo again. E.J. Vizo, Mark, is going to come into play again before this race is over.
E.J. Vizo works his way off of turn number 4. He's well off the pace. Here comes Marco. Here comes DK. Again, they need to find the easy way around Vizo because if they don't, that number 9 machine is coming and coming hard. And he has Dario Franchitti with him.
So here they are in turn number 3. Vizo running in front of the leaders. Vizo on the low side. Where will Marco Andretti go? Will he get around him? He'll pass him on the high side as they cross the line. Now Tony Kanaan trying to navigate his way around his teammate. He'll do it. Mark there in 2.
I think TK laid back a little bit. Wanted to see what would happen because he knew Vizo's line is awfully erratic in turn number 4. Marco got a little lucky because Vizo started to move up on him at the apex of turn number 4. Andretti cleared him. TK didn't lose any ground.
239 of 250 laps being shown complete. 22 hundredths of a second separates Andretti and Kanaan. And boy, Davey, I tell you what, they put on a show out front here tonight.
Man, no matter who wins this race, man, it's well deserved. These two guys, I think it's going to be down between Kanaan and Marco in these last 10 laps. And they've earned it. They have fought tooth and nail. They've raced clean. They swap back and forth. They put a great show on for the fans. Like one of the best races of the year for sure.
240 laps are complete. Visit shophonda.com. Enter for your chance to start an IndyCar race in a 2-seater with an IndyCar champ like Mario Andretti. Official rules at shophonda.com is 8-4-11. No purchase is necessary. Less than 10 laps remaining. Marco Andretti, Mark James, is he going to win here tonight as he begins to pull away from Kanaan just a bit in 3?
TK made the move in turn number 1 on the bottom of the racetrack. He couldn't hold the car down and he had to lift because it would have washed up and washed him right into the wall. He didn't want to end up in the pits again with a chance to win. And all that did was suck up Scott Dixon behind him along with J.R. Hildebrand, who's now gotten around Franchitti. But it's given plenty of distance to Marco Andretti, at least for now. 243
laps will be complete at the line here at the Iowa Corn Indy 250. 7 laps remain. That time for Marco Andretti, 175.931 miles an hour. Tony Kanaan runs second. Scott Dixon is third. Keep in mind that Dixon started 23 third here tonight. And Mark James, he could be fighting Tony Kanaan for second place here in the next couple of laps.
Don't want to take anything away from Marco Andretti. What a masterful job he's done. But, Mike, let's take our hat off to the young American in that number 4 National Guard machine. J.R. Hildebrand has raced for the big dogs all night long. He started up front. He's staying up front. And he's past Dario Franchitti. Would like to work on Scott Dixon.
And Davey, the KV Lotus guys have told E.J. Vizo, bring her on in and park her.
Yeah, he's back in 17th place. Almost caused a few wrecks. Almost taken himself out as well. It was time not to mess with these leaders. Marco, as Mark said, he has a nice lead right now. Tony tried to go underneath him in turn 1. Not enough room. Slid up. Had to lift to keep from hitting Marco. And, man, with 4 laps to go, man, he's got about 10 car lengths lead.
246 laps are complete. Marco Andretti looking to put an end to a near 5-year-long drought. Tony Kanaan runs second. Dixon is third. Hildebrand is fourth. Dario Franchitti runs fifth. Mark James will come to the line with 3 to go.
Much maligned has been Andretti Autosport with their woes in qualifying and some of the struggles in racing. It was not a really, really nice breakup between Tony Kanaan and Andretti Autosport. But, boy, I'll tell you what, nothing cures ills like winning, and Marco Andretti is poised to get Andretti Autosport back in victory lane for the 2nd year in a row at Iowa Speedway.
248 laps are complete. Marco Andretti, he was second here in 2007, third here in 2008. Thought he had a car capable of winning both of those races. Will he move to the top step of the podium? Mark James, white flag is out for Marco.
Marco Andretti comes off of turn number 1. We can look across the way on pit road. We see his team pumping their fists, cheering him on. Marco Andretti off of turn number 3, Mike King.
Off of turn number 3 for the final time. Marco Andretti to the low side. The Venom energy drink. He will bring it home. Marco Andretti ends the 5-year drought, and he will make his way to victory lane for the second time of his IndyCar Series career. The winner of the Iowa Corn Indy 250. Tony Kanaan is second. Scott Dixon is third. J.R. Hildebrand is fourth. And Dario Franchitti, so dominant earlier here tonight, Davey, winds up in fifth place.